Oh boy, you sure look lost. I can give you a ride. What do you say, pal?
No thanks, Mickey. I'm gonna go this way.
Hey, no, come back! I have 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, Dole Whip, and we have $60 billion worth of investments planned over the next decade!
Universal just revealed the coolest thing anyone theme parks has done this century. Maybe you've seen it. I apologize it took until this announcement to fully understand the severity of Universal Epic Universe. What's about to become the 4th theme park at the Orlando Resort is throwing the first punch in what will become a war between the 2 Orlando Titans. Sure, Universal and Disney have always been rivals, but that was, say, a Cold War, a race between who could out-innovate the other, a battle for who could convince the average vacationer to visit their park over the other. With Epic Universe, that choice becomes a little more clear. The debut of this park will usher in a new age, the theme park civil war, if you will. And I don't know about you, but it's a show that I will be enjoying front row. But this war isn't just about who can build better rides. It's a psychological war. One of those companies uses nostalgia as bait, and the other is flipping that ideology on its head. How? It exposes the greatest Disney World knick-knack of all time, the lie they've sold you. Nowadays, the idea of Disney World has since become better than Disney World. With inflated prices, budget-cut rides, and changes to guest experiences, the Western world is losing its sense of value for what a theme park really is. But don't worry, instead, mark your calendars, because come summer 2025, we're reminded of what a good theme park is. It's the first time in a while anyone, whether that be a Florida resident, tourist, or even Disney Vacation Club member, sees the potential Disney could have had, but chose not to. We get to see the full potential of what the theme park titans will make when held to their high price standard, forcing them to put their money where their mouth is. Today, we're exploring Epic Universe and the real reason it exists. Sure, building a new park will introduce new experiences, increase resort capacity, and ultimately drive up the revenue, but why did they settle for this style of theme park? Spoiler, they're using Disney's strategy to drive out Disney customers who are beginning to see the flaws. Epic Universe is a piece in a calculated game of chess. It isn't checkmate, but it is check. If Universal continues to play this game, they will become the new kingdom of Orlando theme parks. And that is epic, especially when the only epic Disney knows is Epic Games. Yeah, while Universal is dumping billions and billions of Comcast dollars into this new park, Disney is dumping billions into Fortnite. But the Comcast billions have already begun to pay off in a marketing sense. Whether it's blog posts, announcement breakdowns, construction updates, Epic Universe is everywhere, and it has been since announced in 2019. It was always destined to get some sort of attention, being the newest Orlando park in over 25 years. But this isn't a free-roaming backlot or traditional circular park, but is solely themed to taking you off planet Earth and putting you in the fantasy world Celestial Park. Celestial Park becomes an epic universe when you incorporate the 4 entry portals, each leading into a different world. The magic behind this design is you don't have to walk through each land to get where you're going. Instead, the worlds are positioned apart from each other, only accessible by their respective portals. It might not be hovering monorails or gravity-defying flying theaters, but this is the next wave of theme parks unfolding before our very eyes. But Epic Universe is anything but a new idea. Theme parks take years and years of research and development, with first rumors of a 3rd Universal park dating back to 2013, 12 years prior to the park's grand opening in 2025. Now, it's easy to go around and praise the design choice and attention to detail of Epic Universe, but the rabbit hole goes much further than that. Disney holds the unofficial title of the go-to resort in Orlando, but Universal has become way hungrier for that title. Truth is, neither really care about a useless title, but they do care about the revenue that comes from who is vacationing where. Disney World, being considered among the greatest vacation destinations in the world, isn't a fair title, when it seems like without Mr. Disney himself to be the leader in innovation and change, all they do nowadays is conform to the game Universal is changing. Walt Disney once said, "We don't make movies to make money. We make money to make movies." If we were to apply that same quote to the theme parks today, it would be, "We don't make rides to make money. We make rides to take money." Or, "We don't make rides to make money. We make money to invest in Fortnite. The original Universal Studios park brought live movie production stages to Orlando. Those stages didn't age very well, now sitting as vacant buildings used for special events and Halloween Horror Nights. But those ugly yellow sound stages is how Universal Orlando found its footing, by attracting those curious to see what goes into making a Universal film. Disney did not like it when the new guy on the block found a niche they hadn't yet tapped into. Fearing Universal would become the film backlot studio of Orlando, Disney made their own backlot park, even going as far as licensing a production studio name, calling it MGM Studios. MGM Studios was met with heavy criticism, many saying there wasn't much to do, and what there wasn't exactly living up to the Disney reputation. Alright, so what? That's gotta be the one time Disney took from Universal, right? If Epic Universe is Universal Orlando's magnum opus, then, in modern years, Galaxy's Edge and Pandora the World of Avatar are the closest to what would be considered Disney worlds. These are incredibly detailed lands that show what Disney is capable of when they get to work, and will always convince me to fork over the $7 for a Night Blossom whenever I'm at Animal Kingdom. But I'm not the only one. These lands are designed to milk the last pennies out of the average visitor through exclusive merch, upsold experiences, and food themed to the area. What sounds like a Disney-made idea is really traced back to Universal gambling on the wizarding world of Harry Potter, aka Disney's most magical mess-up of modern-day media. Author J.K. Rowling first approached Disney to see what they could come up with for a Harry Potter-themed experience at the Magic Kingdom. The first pitch they gave was extremely underdeveloped. After Rowling gave them a list of demands and 3 lackluster revision attempts later, she had enough with Disney. How do you mess that up? I mean, weren't people waiting hours, camping overnight to see the latest release in the Harry Potter series? And it all comes down to not dreaming big enough. But you know who did deliver the vision Rowling approved? Universal. After some suggestions, Universal created the wizarding world of Harry Potter, a land themed around Hogwarts and Hogsmeade. Now, Rowling must have really wanted that Disney contract because she then went back, asking if Disney could compete with Universal's vision for Harry Potter. It was then Disney CEO Bob Iger called the wizarding world ridiculous and far-fetched. Interesting choice of words from the guy who would do just that several years later.
We're creating a jaw-dropping new world that represents our largest single-themed land expansion ever.
The slap in the face didn't come from losing the Harry Potter theme park rights. Disney could do just fine without it, but from what Harry Potter did for Universal. What was considered a pit stop if you had extra time in Orlando now became its own destination park. People were starting to vacation to Orlando for Universal. No wonder Disney had to build Star Wars. How else would they compete? I mean, would they have done it without Harry Potter? Maybe, maybe not. It was the opening of an all-inclusive themed land that changed the theme park industry to start charging a premium for these experiences. Universal changed the game, Disney followed the rules. It's an understatement to say Harry Potter worked well for Universal. They then added a second edition over at the neighboring park themed to Diagon Alley. Now with Epic Universe, the trifecta is complete, with the latest edition, the Ministry of Magic. Between MGM Studios and the creation of themed lands around beloved films, this marks the second time Disney changed how they operated because the company down the street, considered worse, was outsmarting them. But how did it come to this? Disney has a simple yet lasting strategy. Play on the heartstrings of visitors, tap into their childhood, let them step into the magic they've been fed their whole lives. Let them ride the movies, sell them character-themed snacks, build a magical brand so spending money somehow seems like not a bad thing. It isn't a coincidence that Disney adults are millennials who grew up throughout the Disney Renaissance, the era when Disney was releasing theatrical hit after hit after hit. Now let's look at Epic Universe. Celestial Park is the central hub, a one-of-a-kind land that isn't shown in theaters or experienced at another park. Celestial Park holds those 4 entry portals I was talking about earlier, the ones that each lead into their own world. Maybe some of these sound familiar. Super Nintendo World, Dark Universe, Harry Potter Ministry of Magic, and How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk. It seems each of these lands were carefully picked. They all have their own fandom, each eager to knock down the Epic Universe gate. We see the introduction of video games to Orlando parks, the introduction of a horror land to Orlando parks, another Harry Potter land bringing fans back for a third time to see a different corner of the wizarding world. And for the longtime Universal fans, we see dragons making a return to the resort. Now, what do all of these have in common? They all use nostalgia as bait. Super Nintendo World isn't only capturing eyes because of its top to bottom colors, but it's casting the theme park net to gamers. Nintendo being a household name in the 90s and early 2000s, then seeing a resurgence in the 2010s. Dark Universe is based off the Universal classic monsters such as Dracula, Wolfman, Frankenstein. I'm sure many of you have heard of those titles, with the first movies releasing in the early 1920s, over 100 years before Epic Universe, and 14 years prior to Snow White. Harry Potter is for those who fell in love with that world, whether that be through the books or through the movies. And How to Train Your Dragon is nostalgic for people like myself who were born in the early 2000s. Nostalgia is the same reason Universal Orlando's largest investments as of late were themed to the Jurassic Park spinoff and Harry Potter. But on the other hand of nostalgia is Galaxy's Edge. Something ginormous in scale and funds is divisive because they chose to story it around the newer movies rather than the nostalgic originals. I think if Disney were to make a 5th Disney World park, they would double down on nostalgia, but even if they decided to do that today, Epic Universe would be turning like 10 years old by the time it opens. So if we're talking about the future, what shows Universal reigning champ over Disney? It comes down to Disney and Universal as mega corporations. With so much to manage within these Wall Street titans, theme parks are a subdivision of an enormous portfolio these companies control. Nothing more than a way to sell more to those who already enjoy their movies, whether that be meeting characters or touring film backlots. That way of thinking was flipped upside down in 2020 when the film industry shut down. While Disney and Comcast were struggling to make profits in theaters, with minor delays, the parks remained open, becoming big breadwinners for their parent companies. Even though it seemed all else was failing, considering the circumstances, the park's revenue stayed relatively up. And my gosh, did these two process that data differently. While Disney was mindlessly fiddling around with reservations and park restrictions, Universal was quick to rebrand from Universal Parks and Resorts to Universal Destinations and Experiences. What sounds like a funny name change was Universal restructuring their theme park department after realizing their theme park potential and, overall, just how big they've become in global tourism. Since the rebrand, we've seen an emphasis on expansion, with the kids park expanding the Universal name to Texas, year-round haunt event in Vegas, and an entire new resort making its home in Great Britain. Epic Universe is the type of investment we expect from companies with the resources like Disney and Universal. Though Universal did their rebrand, Disney isn't by any means incompetent. While Universal pushes for grand expansions to see that huge return on investment, just look at Epic Universe, Disney goes the route of a dollar saved is a dollar earned. For a company bragging about having the greatest team and leading the industry in innovation, why does Disney World seem to only get reused tech and other parks hand-me-downs? Don't be mistaken, Disney is innovating, but not in America, and that's for a reason. Americans are lazy when it comes to being impressed. If anything, eager to pay the expensive entry fees to escape reality. Travelers to the most expensive place on earth are happy paying the extra change for what is obviously a budget cut for anyone who's been to any other Disney resort. Only at Disney World will they save a buck on animatronics by projecting an animated face. You know what would happen if they did that very same thing at Shanghai Disneyland? Nobody would go. The entertainment market there is so competitive that Disney needs to innovate if they want to build experiences that capture the market's attention. Those resorts are located near cities with a diverse market to pull from, but if Disney is to survive, they need to push the boundaries. Why don't they do that same thing at Disney World, their most profitable resort? Because they don't need to. If people will come because of the fancy Disney name, it's cheaper to copy and paste to save that good old Disney dollar. And yes, as long as they sell you the idea, it's impressive. Prices will continue to rise. Don't get me wrong, Disney has done impressive things, but I just can't tell you they live up to the modern day status quo when they have a team of eager creatives held back by budget cuts and higher ups. Universal, however, gives their incredible team of creatives the freedom to dream big, and Epic Universe is a living representation of what you get when you let those driven minds do what they do best. Universal as well owns several resorts over in Asia. In the same manner as Disney, they need to innovate or else potential customers won't be interested in spending the money for a ticket. Unlike Disney, Universal brings how they operate over in Asia to America. They have spared no expense at the Orlando resort and have seen that deserved return on investment. By continuing to expand with these experiences, Universal isn't further competing with Disney, but instead putting themselves in their own bracket within the Orlando corner of the theme park industry. So, to recap what we went over: 1. Nostalgic experiences. 2. Pushing the envelope with themed lands. And 3. Escaping reality. This is the ideology of theme parks we've come to consume. That is the importance of Epic Universe, a place themed to taking you off the planet, giving you a portal to walk into long-beloved films, games, franchises brought to life. It will be enough to turn heads and change minds. Now, the big question is, will Disney build a 5th park to combat Epic Universe? Well, they've never shown a sign of building one without competition, so if they do, well, if they need another company to be successful to let their own team get creative freedom, then you don't need for me to say who's leading this race. Seems Disney has become so content with their status, they began to cut corners thinking nobody would notice. But Universal noticed. And now, with Epic Universe as their secret weapon, everyone else will know it too. Checkmate.
If you're as excited for Epic Universe as I am, make sure to smash that subscribe button. Toodles!